Let's learn about opening and reading text files. So a text file is one of the simplest files. It just contains a bunch of text that you can read when you open it. And in order to open a file, we're going to learn about the built-in open function. So this is how it works. You just type in open. It will turn green because it is built in. It is available to all Python programmers. You don't have to import it. And then you pass in the name of the file as the string over here. If I go back to my file system view, we can look at all of the files in our current working directory. So here are a bunch of text files. There's more in this Shakespeare folder. And you can place in here either a relative path to the file or an absolute path. So absolute means from the beginning of your file system. A relative path is relative to the current working directory. So this, just this current directory right here. So I'm going to just type in the name of the file, and if you press tab, you'll be able to do tab complete. So that's pretty cool. And I'm going to assign the result of this function to a variable called f. That'll be our file object. So let me just execute this. This is really similar to reaching into a bookshelf, selecting a book, and opening the cover. So our file is now open. We are ready to do something with it. The main thing we're going to do is to read it, and that's what we're going to do coming up. But we haven't done anything to it. We've simply just opened the file. Okay, so what I like to do whenever we get a new type of object is to use the type function and to see technically what type it is. So this is a text IO wrapper object. This is not very important. It's type. This is not a built-in type. It's in the standard library, the IO library, which stands for input output. It's just more commonly referred to as a file object, and that's what I'm going to keep referring it to. And now what we're going to do is actually read all of the information in the file with the read method. So just like any other object, these have attributes and methods, and we can actually examine some of them by putting a dot here and pressing tab. These are all of the attributes and methods. This is a lot of the functionality of this object, this file object, and we're going to read this in. And I'm going to assign the value whatever it returns to this variable called content. Let me go ahead and execute that. So what the read method does, it reads in the entire content as a string. Okay, so before we actually look at this content, let's actually look at the file itself. So if I go back to the file system view and I click on baseball.txt, this is the file that it's reading in. It's just 5 lines. These are names of Major League Baseball teams. So that's what it is read in. It is read in all 5 of them. And if I look at this output, you'll see that it is a string. It has all the names. You'll see this \n. So this is the new line character. And let's go back to the file that we just opened up. And if you look over here, you don't see a new line character. That's because the display of text files, instead of putting them all on a single line, it'll use that new line character to actually just put the content of the next line on a separate physical or visible line on your screen, so you don't have to see it all lined up in one single line. So there is a new line character here. You don't visibly see it. It just appears. It just naturally is taken care of by this text editor. But when you read it in, it is there, and so it is actually part of the file. It's technically part of the file. If you print this out, the print function will actually replace the new line character with physically a new line, and so it'll look exactly like the file that you read, that you see in the text editor. Okay, so that's all there is in this video. We're just simply using this built-in open function, passing it a string of the name of the file, returning a file object, and then calling the read method, which will read in the entire content of the file as a string, and then we're just outputting it to the screen.